Happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day, everybody on there. We'll talk to that here in a second. We're going to talk a little bit about what we do here at Grow Global. If this is your first time here, you're going to love and be grateful for the person that invited you here today. Grow Global is a big group of agents, diverse agents all across the country. Sometimes outside the United States, even we get people plugging into this mastermind where we're going to help you grow your business, grow your network, and grow your life. Our purpose of this is for all of us to help each other. You're going to love today what we're going to be doing, but we're trying to help you so you can sell more homes, have more free time, so you can ultimately have more fun. And to do that, we have lots of different things to help you do it. And so one of those is we have a Facebook page. If you guys can see my screen, we have a Facebook page. It's called Grow Global Mastermind Academy. We have 267 members, but you're free to join this. The person that invited you can invite you to it, and we'll get you added on there. We record these masterminds on Monday. I highly recommend showing up live because, like today, you're going to get a chance to speak on these. You're going to get a chance to ask questions. But we have people scheduled to talk on here who are experts in their field. For example, next week we'll be talking about lead gen. We've talked about all kinds of things. If you look at our YouTube page here, because we're recording, we have 73 videos. We've been doing this almost a year and a half now. So it's a great set of resources for you to go on there and search what's going on. Look at this, 60 days post NAR settlement. We talked about how things were going and things like that. Anyways, you can check it out on there and see how that's going. We also have an Instagram page, which tells you what we're going to be talking about. Great stuff. You can follow us there. And then, of course, we have a web page. Now, here's the great part about the web page is on the web page, it is going to tell you what we've got going on. So you see all these tabs up here? Well, here's the events tab. And on the events tab, it tells you what we have coming up. You'll notice on here, today we're going to be talking about success uncovered, real life stories in real estate. And today we're going to be featuring you. And if you're like, is he talking about me? The answer is yes. We are going to be talking to you. And what we're going to be looking for is for you to provide some stories that might be helpful to other people. Now, here's what always happens when we do this. We break this thing out and we say, hey, we want to hear from you. And guess what people do? They sit there, cover their mouths, and they sit on their hands. We want you to speak today because here's the deal. This is not the place to be shy. If you don't want to turn on your camera, that's fine. We would love to see your smiling face. Look, I'm wearing my veteran shirt today for Veterans Day. If you would like to tell your story, somebody would like to hear it. I promise you, no matter what kind of success you've had or what idea you have, somebody will get something out of it. So today is your day to give back to the community. But before we get started, I would love to see how many veterans we got out there. If you're a veteran out there, throw your hand up or unmute your mic. Let's hear it. If you're a veteran spouse, if you're somebody who had somebody in your family who's in the military, because we know families serve too. Let's hear it. Who's out there that's got it? Let's see. Look at that Brian Conrad. He's got his hat on, right? Operation Freedom there. Jeremy Collins raised his hand. Beautiful. But go ahead and put your veteran's family member in the chat because we're going to honor him there in the chat. Type their name in there. People, Tracy Bosswood Wiggins, thanks for the service. Jeremy Collins got his hands up. Everyone says Happy Veterans Day. So we're going to get going, but type the name of your veteran in there to honor them, whoever that was. Maybe it was could be yourself, could be your spouse, family member, something like that. Jennifer Mendoza says Craig Yaseg, or Yace, her dad, beautiful. Harold Sobel, Jeremy Wilson, rest in peace. Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Kim, Semper Fi. My pops, Walter Yander, Tracy Moss moves, Wiggins says. Awesome. All right. So let's get started. We'll keep up with these on there. Grandpa, Viet Win says Grandpa was in there. Beautiful. So today, who wants to be first? The first person's always the icebreaker, right? Chuck Herhold, beautiful. John's dad's late father. Sean Lofton, beautiful. Excellent. Who wants to tell a story that was a win they had or an idea they had, something they put into their business that has helped make their business go? Who wants to be the first person to do it? And here's the way we're going to do it. You can go down to the reactions thing and you can raise your little hand and we'll call on you and you can unmute. And if you'd like to turn on your camera, we'd love to see you. But if not, you do not have to because some people are like, I'm not camera ready. I'm like, look at this face for radio you got right here. You got me on here, so you could do it. So let's hear it. Who wants to be first? Raise their hand that would like to tell a story that other people may find inspiring or an idea they can get out of it. Who's going to be the first one? Nobody ever wants to crack it. Let's see. Here we go. Uncomfortable silence. Dun, dun, dun. Either volunteer or I'm going to call on you. How about that? Stephanie Gills, and go first. Break the ice here.
Hey,
Tell some
we had
stories.
Stacy. Stacy was right there with her mic unmuted and so forth. So
But I have to sleep with her, so I don't want to be in trouble. I know how that would go if I called on her first.
mine might be better suited for a little bit later in the call, but I'll go ahead and do it because, what I wanted to share was negotiation today. Story about negotiation, because negotiation is what we're all scared of, a lot of us. Negotiations with our buyer, negotiations with the seller, negotiations with the other agent, right? That's what fears majority of us, and why, that's where we have to grow our backbone. And honestly, that's my favorite part of the deal, is the negotiation. That's my favorite part. And so, I'm going to share it from the buy side, and then maybe later on in the call, we'll share it from that seller side. But one of the most important things that you need to remember when you're representing a buyer on the transaction is to not let information go too much to that selling or that listing agent side. Okay, you just got to remember to hold things tight to your chest. And so here's my story. I had these gentlemen, they wanted this house so bad, they had to have this house. Now I'm not going to go and tell anybody that they had to have this house, okay? So what it had was a pool, and they had to have this house, and they had to have this pool. And they said, Stephanie, we cannot lose this house. If we lose this house, we're going to be so upset, because there's not another home that's going to replace this home. It's one of a kind. The yard is one of a kind. Their homes in this area don't come up for sale that often. You cannot lose this home for us, okay? Now, am I going to walk in and tell everybody on earth that that's what's going on? No, that we can't. We got to be strategic in that. And so we make the appointment, we walk through the door. The listing agent is there. And we let the buyers go through. All right? We let the buyers go through. And the listing agent says to me, so what made them want to look at this home? Because he's wanting to pull information out of me, right? These are key phrases, they're key questions as to where you learn from information. And I said, here's the thing. It's a hot July day, and they don't have a pool. And they know that if they try to build a pool, it's going to be another year before they can enjoy that pool. This house happens to have a pool, so they thought, you know what? If they like the house, maybe it's already got the pool, maybe they'll move. Perfect, right? Perfect. So the story here is that the listing agent was like, oh crap, they don't really want this property. So from that point forward, after we left, I told my clients, listen, let's sit and wait a little bit, because this is a high dollar property. There's not a lot of people that are coming through this property. We knew that from the cobwebs as we started to walk through this house. We knew that from how the listing agent was acting. How we portray ourselves and the stories we tell during showings are telling us we're giving away too many secrets, right? We're giving away where our clients stand in a situation. We got to be very cognizant, and we've got to be careful and cautious of that, right? Well, that listing agent wanted to sell this house. And so I basically said to that listing agent, who continued to call me and say, what would it take? What would it take to get these people to make an offer on the home? And I said, I'm not certain, but it's going to take a lot of money off this listing price. It's going to take a lot of money off this listing price. You all, this was a home that they had to have, right? This was a home that they had to have. But because we played it smart, and because we didn't let in on that, but more importantly, I could have been that agent that said, oh man, they want it. Let's write that offer. I knew how bad they wanted that home. I could have just said, okay, guys, you got to pay full price, and we got to write that offer today. We got to do the closing quick. No, that's how we win business. These guys and gals, this family has referred me over 27 different families and clients ever since that. Why? Because I won for them. I looked out for them. I didn't look out for my commission. I didn't look out for my pocket. I looked out for them. And that's the queen. That's how you become queen of negotiation. So that's my first story.
Hey,
Stay.
Stephanie, real quick, if somebody
Yeah.
wants to learn negotiating better, and then we're going to go to Jennifer Mendoza, and then we'll go to Suzanne. What book would you recommend for them to get started in to learn how to negotiate better?
Oh my gosh, and I've got it, and I'm not at my office today. I'm at home, but it is shoot, it's right on the tip of my tongue. John, what is it? It's the art of
Never split the difference.
how to split the difference. It's how to split the difference.
How to split the difference. All right.
100. Thank you for saying that. No, 100%, 100%. You guys, you got to read it.
Love it. So, Jennifer, you had something you wanted to follow up on Stephanie's story. Go for it.
Yes.
Unmute and go for it. Yes. Oh, hey, there you are. You're down there. I see you now.
Finally, I'm here. Not just a black screen. So I had a seller. It was back during COVID. The market, I'm in California, Southern California. Market was super hot. The seller, it was a multifamily in Long Beach. Oops, I just lost everything. Hold on, sorry. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we still see and hear
Okay.
you. You're good.
There you are. The seller, I'm sorry, the buyers came in, agent. I just get people talking. It's just fun to hear them talk and hear what they've got to tell me. So I collect all the info, I save all the info, it downloads into my brain, and then I'll use that for later, just like what Stephanie was talking about. So I just have normal conversations with the agents and let them just give it all to me. So this guy was telling me that his buyers have been looking forever. They can't find anything under $1 million. This house was priced at $999. They came in 2 days after we went on market. You know, I said, you know, the home's been on market for 2 days. We're gonna probably wait and see if we get another offer. He said, they're just gonna cancel them because they're about ready to give up. And I said, okay, well, let me just bring it to the seller and see what he says. Seller, very reasonable seller. Meanwhile, he had tenants in the property, so he owned it free and clear. He's making money. Doesn't matter to him. He's cash flowing. He's fine. So these guys, I say, okay, offer accepted. We love it. We're going to go with it. He says, you know, it's full price offer. That's what we're asking for. Let's take it. So I tell the agent, yes, we're going to take it. Let's get into escrow. We get into escrow. He does a roof inspection, a termite inspection, home inspection. The appraisal comes in $30K low. But again, this was COVID when it didn't matter what the appraisals came in at. You're still, you know, Northern California, they were going up 400,000 over asking price. Down here, they were going up 70, 100,000 over asking. So didn't matter. Anyway, the guy comes back and says, well, appraisal's 30K low. We need a new roof. That's 12K. We need 2,500 in termite. You know, there's a couple of repairs. And I said, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. And he said, you know, well, you don't want to put this house back on the market. And I said, this guy's cash flowing. It doesn't matter to him what he does. He can go back on the market. This house was on the market for 2 days. We didn't even have an opportunity to really get anybody in or out, right? He took your offer. Your guys don't want to go back on the market because, as you mentioned, there's nothing out here under $1 million. And so I kind of threw it back at him. He said, well, we're going to look at some more houses over the weekend. And I said, no problem. Let me know by Monday if you're canceling or not. Like, I didn't even go to the seller whatsoever. It was just, don't be silly, guy. You know what market we're in right now. And anyway, the guy came back on Monday and he said, I said, so are we going to cancel or are we going forward? What's going on? And he said, let me talk to my guys, which means that other house went for over $1 million. And then he came back to me and said, you know, we have a great, I have a great offer for you. We're only going to ask for 10K. And I said, all right, let me take that to my guy. So it went from like 70K to 10K. And again, my seller was pretty reasonable. So he said, you know, yeah, give him the 10K. That's fine. and everything was hunky dory, and they got their house, and my seller, I've sold 3 for him so far. So,
Well done. Well
yeah,
done. Great
it's
job.
fun.
Great story.
I love the
Awesome.
negotiation
And
part.
you're
It's
in what
fun.
market again? You're in LA. Where are you? What
Me,
county?
I actually live in Riverside County,
Okay.
Southern California, but
Cool.
that house, he's over in Long Beach area. So I usually will sell stuff for him out that way.
It's amazing
It's
how
about
much
an
markets
hour
differ,
from me.
right? Across the
Sorry.
country. I say it's amazing how much markets different across the country. Real estate is so hyper local. Like it doesn't, people read the national headlines, right? And it's totally different, not just from state to state or city to city, but literally from street to street. It can
Yes.
vary dramatically. So it's a great story on that, Jennifer. Suzanne
Thank you.
Sobel, I saw you
Hello.
with your hand up. We'd love to hear your story. What do you got for our people? Let's hear it.
This is a Hampton story from many years ago when I first started selling real estate. And the Hamptons market is a little different. I
Hampton
think
where? Hampton, what state?
Long Island, it's the East Hampton, Southampton, Wainscott. So it's the Hamptons, New York, Long Island. And it's mostly vacation homes, but since COVID, it's become a lot more full-timers. I had just started selling, and a friend of mine really wanted a house. I showed she and her husband over 200 homes. There was a problem here, there was a problem there. Finally, I am driving by, looking at different neighborhoods, and I see a sign about to be put out that a house was about to go on the market. It hadn't been listed yet or anything else. I walk in, the builder happened to be there. The builder was also the person trying to sell, who was the agent selling the house. And he wanted to sell this house because his investor also said, we get this sold, we'll do another house for you, and then another one and another one. So went in, took a look at the house, called my friends, and I said, this is your house. I know it's your house. I just don't know if the backyard is big enough for your husband to do all of that. They walked in, they fell in love. They fell madly in love with the house. It was listed, I think, the Hamptons is an outrageous market, so please don't. It was listed for 185 or something, and the builder was not moving because he knew he'd be able to get it. They didn't have that. They went their limit. Her mother was helping them pay for the house. I mean, there was a lot of things. It was a second home. She had 2 kids in private school. So, you don't have the money. I broke every rule in the book, and I started out by saying to the builder, what happens if we get this house sold? He goes, so-and-so is going to give me money for another house. I called the investor that coincidentally, I didn't know, I happened to have known I knew him. I knew the person he worked with really well. I said to the investor, how far are you willing to go? He said to me, I can only go to X, Y, and Z. I said, okay. Now I'm at a point where this is where you're all going to say I was nuts. I called my friend, and I called the other 2 brokers and the builder, and I said, here's the deal. I am willing to walk from X amount of my commission, if all of you are as well, and sell them this house. Everyone agreed. The builder got to build another house. The investor made his money back and then some, and they're still good friends. And my friends bought me my puppy, who I was madly in love with till the day she died. So I always said they gave me the greatest gift of all. I got the dog out of the deal. And they've been there now for God knows how long, and they love their home more than anything. And they sent me a lot of clients until she and her husband became element brokers out there, and now they're doing it themselves.
I love it. So Suzanne, real quick, back at the beginning of your story, you said something that I think would help some agents that maybe gotten licensed in the last 10 years. How many homes did you show them? Say that number again.
Well over 100.
Well over 100 showings to do it, because we got a lot of agents who've been licensed and they're like, oh, I showed these people 5 houses. I don't know what I'm going to do. They don't understand that there was times when you were showing people triple digits in showings. So it's not bad right now, even though some people think it's bad. If you got to show them a dozen houses, that's not bad. So
A dozen houses is nothing, especially up there. When I sold my own house twice, I had 2 homes I sold out there. And again, that's a vacation area, more so that's a second home area. It used to be more so than the first home area. I must have had about 15, 20 open houses when I've sold other people's out there alone. out there, you gotta be available, and once someone makes an offer, you gotta do it on a dime. If you don't, you lose it.
I love it. Great story, Suzanne. We're going to go to Jamie Parker and then Tracy Boss Moves Wiggins. And then people want to put their hands up, it'll put them in the queue so we can call on you, or you can put it down in the chat and I'm watching that and then we'll call on you next. So Jamie Parker and then Tracy Boss Moves Wiggins. Go for it.
Hey, everybody. So let me get back on video here. All right. So mine is being a little, can everybody hear okay? Because it looks like it's a little, mine's like freezing. Okay. So one of the things I want to encourage everybody with, I had a sale about 3 years ago, and I kid you not, I have been sending her homes for 11 years and just continuing to follow up. We would look at maybe one house a year, maybe two off and on. In 11 years of just constantly dripping on the MLS strips, not spending tons of time, but just consistently sending a text every now and then, or she would message me once or twice a year. It was all hyper local. So don't give up on people is one of the things, because you never know. That ended up being, you know, pretty nice $570,000 sale. Just by showing like one house a year. Of course, she was lamenting because that same house she could have bought 10 years ago for like 3 something, but you know, that was you live and learn. And now she's looking to buy investment properties. I've listed, she has a rental. I've listed that several times, like, because she didn't want to sell her original house. And then the other thing I wanted to share and then move on is, you know, you always have interesting situations that occur. So there was back in probably 10 or 11, I was mowing the yard at a short sale that was in my neighborhood. That's where I still did all that kind of stuff. But I was mowing the yard and a car pulls up to the stop sign in front of the sign on the house. And I was like, man, if they come back, I'm going to stop the car because they have to stop at the stop sign. And sure enough, they stopped at the stop sign. I walked up to their door, gave them my card. We talked 2 or 3 days later. I ended up listing her house, listing his house, and selling them a house together. It was over $1 million in sales right there. And then then they broke up. It was like a couple that was dating. So guys, don't like buy a house with somebody you're dating. This has happened several times. If you're not married, it's probably not a great idea. I ended up selling their house after they broke up. And what had happened, the guy, he didn't only break up with her and had to pay her off. Then he met another girl, let the other girl move in, and they refinanced the house. Like, he didn't learn the lesson the first. Jim's like, he didn't learn his lesson the first time. And then it gets even better from that, because then we had attorneys. So it was almost like a divorce, even though they weren't married, but it was almost like a divorce because he had put had repairs that needed to get done on the house, but yet they had refinanced the house together. And so I had her attorney, I had his attorney. And meanwhile, we've sold the house. We sold it for full price. And now, because they can't get their stuff together, the buyer is now affected by, and the buyer's done everything right. They've done nothing wrong in this. The buyers and the buyer's agent have been great. And they can't delay closing on their house because they're selling their house to buy this house. So it's like a domino effect. And so I talked to the seller. I was like, look, nobody's in the house. Let's just let them move in the house. And this isn't their fault. This is a you problem, not a them problem. And he's like, okay, we're going to let them move in the house. So we let them move in the house, you know, and then I get like about a week later, the seller is like, well, you know, if we don't have this done and I have to make another mortgage paper, I'm charging them rent. He's going to charge, he was going to try to charge them rent for something that he did that was a personal problem between him and this girl. Fortunately, they ended up working out the problem. But I literally, in this case, I felt so bad. I was like, look, it's like, what, $2,500? I was like, I will eat the $2,500 to do the right thing, to get this thing to the table. I didn't end up having to do it, but that's what I got him, because I would have never wanted to go back to the buyer's agent and say that he wants rent. I mean, that would have just gone over all. And at the end of the day, when we finally did close on the house, he was like, yeah, I knew you were the right guy for the job. I know I put you through a lot of crap, but you know, I knew you were the right guy for the job. And I had sold previously a house that even his daughter and one of his kids too. So it ended up being like mowing that yard ended up being like 6 or 7 transactions just from mowing your yard. So when you do the right thing for your clients, a lot of times the right things will come back. And if you guys want to see the whole story, I was on an episode of Negotiators, which is a TV show, and I actually put that story. That was the story we used on
I
the
love that.
TV
I
show.
love that story. I could see you right now chasing that guy down the road on your lawnmower and, hey, come back here. You're taking my card when we're there. But you know what I got out of that, Jamie, is everybody on here needs to have a good divorce attorney. Not so you can get a divorce, but because what's the awful realtor joke? That divorces are worth 3 transactions, right? 1 sale and 2 buys. But that's a little bit of gold actually in there. If you guys are thinking about it, you should have a relationship with estate attorneys, right? Because they have to sell the home, right? They're looking for motivated sellers, and divorce attorneys. They need a dependable realtor that they can go to and refer their clients to you. And of course, you're a realtor, you could refer them business, also a little reciprocal business. So I love that, JB. Great story on that. Let's go, Tracy Bossby Williams. By the way, what we're doing, if you're jumping on late, is we're taking realtor success stories. What anecdote can you share? What little tip or trick do you have? What's some success story you've had that other people would find inspiring? Maybe they're stuck right now, right? Maybe 2023 and 2024 weren't their best years. What's something you could keep them going with? And we're going to Tracy Boss Moves Wiggins next. Tracy, hit us. Let's hear your story.
Good afternoon, folks. I was reluctant to turn my camera on because I just got done working out, so excuse all the shoulders and stuff being out.
You're showing off the guns. Let's see them, baby. Put them up there. Let's show them. There they are. There we go. Love it.
Oh, gosh. So anyway, I think my story is based around don't be afraid to negotiate or ask for compensation when builders or whomever you're working with, when they mess up. So I have a story of first-time home buyers in Tennessee. Of course, I do Tennessee and Georgia. And they were so excited. They decided to have a new construction done. And it was Old South with the builders. And I'm calling their name out because it really ended up good. And so, the first thing they do is make their selections. So I was with them to make their selections, and they wanted this particular color on their house. And the agent that was on site said that they couldn't have that color because they have a rule that the neighbors' houses couldn't be the same color. So your neighbor has that color, so you can't have that color. And they were like, oh man, okay, well, here's our second favorite. Yeah. And so we went on as they started building the homes. What about the neighbor had the exact color of the one that they didn't want, which they end up choosing a gray, and the neighbor beside them had gray. And so went back to the on-site agent. I said, well, hey, I thought the rule was they couldn't have the same color. She said, oh, oops, we made a mistake. And I was like, okay, that's all. And the home right across the street from my client's home was the color that they wanted, that they really wanted. And so, so the agent acted like it was just, mistake, but I was like, no. So I went to I asked her, would she do any compensation? No, we don't do that. And I said, okay. So I went to the builder and I found her broker rather. And I sent him an email of which I wrote my thoughts, but then I put it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT made it sound so much nicer. And so be sure you guys are using that. And we requested that they do something. I mean, I said, my clients have to look at the house across the street that's a color that they really wanted for the rest of their time there, or how long they stay there. And so he was like, oh my goodness, I'm so very sorry. I'm glad that you reached out. I don't know why my staff the agent on site didn't bring it to my attention. But yes, I would love to give you guys another $5,000 towards your closing costs. So that was a blessing because their total closing costs was supposed to be like $24,000. So they had gotten down payment assistance. They had also gotten some closing cost assistance. And with that extra additional $5,000, because I know a lot of agents would stop at what the on-site agent said. Oh, we don't do anything. You don't want to stop. You want to go to the next level. And when I went to the next level, that's where we got that additional $5,000. So they were just so excited but was 24,000, ended up being only 6,000 to cash to close. And they were just elated. They sing my praises, and they were happy to do even a video review and just singing my praise of me and my lender and the broker that ended up getting that 5,000 for us. And so, so yeah, just don't be afraid to go beyond the no and to the big dog.
Tracy, that is great advice. And I love what you said about third-party edification, having
Mhm.
your clients say something great about you versus as agents, we're always like saying great stuff about ourselves, right? Because we have to self-promote like crazy. That's what Gary Vaynerchuk teaches, self-promote like crazy. But if you can get your clients and go the extra mile for them and get them to do a video talking
A
about
video
you,
review.
oh,
Yeah.
that's worth gold like
But-
that. And then you said another piece of gold that you took words you were writing and put it to ChatGPT, and you said it made it better, right? It
More
embellished
professional.
it.
Yeah. It's going to be more professional because, we're full of emotion. So I said, ChatGPT, write a letter of complaint to the builder who, just tell your story to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT would create that letter, and you look like you, oh my God, I couldn't have wrote it any better. So ChatGPT is hired, my best friend.
I love that. AI, artificial intelligence, is not going to replace realtors.
Mm-mm.
Realtors who use AI are going to replace realtors who don't use it. That is what's coming. We learned that at a conference I went to. And
Yes.
that I believe that will be the case. It's going to be something that helps with that. So that's great. Awesome stuff on that. Who's next? Stacy Lambright, you had your hand up. Go ahead. Let's hear your story.
So I had a good story to play off of Stephanie's too. I do have another one to make, but on the listing side, so I took a listing and it's only 5 years old, and they have a gorgeous backyard with this gorgeous hot tub. And right off the bat, they told me the hot tub was staying. So I chose to leave that out of the listing, even though I knew that we had that it was being left. And they had a showing yesterday, and of course, right off the bat, the buyer's agent's sending all these buying questions. Well, one of them was can they buy the hot tub afterwards? So obviously, that's a good sign. So I said, you know what, if the price is right, I think they'd consider leaving it. Well, that their showing was at 10 a.m. and they scheduled a second showing to come back at 5:30, which in Ohio, it's getting a little bit that dusk time. So I told my seller, I said, go out, open up the backyard, put the Edison lights on, get the bubbles going, put all the lights on the hot tub, for their second showing last night. So it was just a little bit of a play of what Stephanie says, is make sure you're always listening, because that's just all those buying signals every which way. And then two, pricing right now. We had a pricing victory, because I don't know if anybody else is having problems with this, but all of our sellers want to price kind of like the way their neighbors have been doing the last year or so. And in our market, when we do data, when we do comps, I always used to talk with my sellers, if you can see my hand here, but if numbers showed us here before, we were kind of pricing right above it because the market was on an upward swing and we were catching it. And so our open houses here have been dying on the vine. And we went into a seller and I said, just trust me, please. Our grand opening was this weekend. Our comps came out here. I had them price here. We had 14 people through the open house with multiple offers. It is all about pricing right now. You can't chasing the market, because I've got 2 listings that didn't listen to me that were chasing the market. It is all key. Pricing right now is crucial. So just make sure you guys
People that
the
are newer that don't know what you mean by chasing the market. What is chasing the market?
So the 2 listings I have that didn't listen to me, because here's the thing, you always want to get the listing, as long as they're somewhat realistic. Take the listing, but with the expectation that, listen, if we go through, I'm saying 2 weekends now, that's even changed. It used to be 1 weekend. If we go through 2 weekends now, and grand opening weekends, we hold open houses and we don't have an offer, we need to adjust. That is chasing the market. But if we have sellers that won't have that mindset, like, and I just had this talk with Melinda, if she's on here, I don't know if she is or not, but if they're willing to do that, then we'll take the listing. And that's just, listen, the market's going to talk to us. It is kind of a crazy market right now. We don't know. We're in the middle of a shift for sure. So if we try this, we will put the marketing behind it. We will hold it open. If that buyer is there, we will find it. But if the market's telling us it's not there, will you agree to adjust the price after the second weekend? So get that commitment first, because you cannot have that talk after you have the listing, because then it sounds like you didn't do your job in the first place.
So you're pricing the price reduction right into the conversation up front. We're going to shoot for the home run. And if for some reason, if anyone can get it, it's us. But if it doesn't happen because the market speaks to us, you've already got the price reduction.
But
planned
make
in.
sure you're educating them. Tell them that my opinion though is that we should price right under what data is showing us. Try to get those multiple offers. Try to get more people through the open house. But if they won't do that, then yes, make sure you're having that talk before you take the listing.
Beautiful. Love it. So what we're doing is we're taking stories from you guys out there. And when I say you, if you're like, is he talking to me? The answer is yes. I am talking to you. We want to hear your stories of what you've got going on because somebody is going to find it inspiring. And so you can either put in the chat like, hey, I'll go next, or you can raise your little hand on the little icon thing and then we'll call on you there and you get to unmute. You don't have to turn your camera on unless you want to. We would like to see your face, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Jamie Parker's got his hands up. Then we'll go to Rob Campbell.
I just more of a question than a story, and this this could be a good discussion question as well. We know where at least we're seeing in our area where the market has shifted. Even going back to comps 3 months ago or 4 months ago, they're not valid for what we're experiencing in the market right now. So just because I have a comp, I can prove it on paper all day long that the house is worth X amount of dollars. The proof is in the pudding, where you're not getting as many showings or you're not getting offers. And so what I would love to get an idea of what some other people were doing as far as how do you determine how to adjust those prices. The conversation with the sellers is not hard. You just let them know what's going on, but the actual empirical numbers, like what do you guys think about? What kind of an adjustment are you looking like in our area in that price point? We're now 44 days on the market for active listings. We're normally in this neighborhood listings selling 3 to 5 days. It's a hot neighborhood, but now we're 3 or 4 weeks on the market. So what do y'all think as far as making those types of adjustments, based on what we're seeing, based on activity, market, because you can't really put hard data to it because there is not really hard data, just that things are just taking longer to sell.
I love that, Jamie. I think our planners, I think our planner is on here who plans our topics out. I think seller scripts is a great topic for us to have that will include price. First of all, getting the listing. Secondly, price reductions. Secondly, negotiating with sellers, right, on things like request to remedy and things like that. I think that's a great one, Jamie, actually, that could probably take an entire 1 hour. So if our person's on here who's our planner, go ahead and write that one down. And we're going to get a panel of big time listing agents, all including you, Jamie, probably be on there to talk about listing scripts that people need to use. But
I think so too, Jamie. One thing that has changed is our whole listing presentation has changed. If you remember a year ago when people were saying, do I need to paint? Do I need new carpeting? And the answer really was no, because it probably won't get you any more money. The answer is now yes. Like because they need to be the house that stands out, because in our market, we have really got through the pent up demand. It is no longer sitting there. So like you said, our market too is going to that 30, 45 days on market. So when that buyer finally does crack the door, we have to be the shiniest. We have to have the sparkly paint. We have to have the new flooring. Everything has to be clean. Landscaping has to be up. Like all those answers are yes now. Yes, you need to do it.
Yep, seller scripts. I think let's definitely put that on the agenda for in the near future. In fact, next week we're doing leads. But right now, let's go Rob Campbell, Stephanie, Laura. Right now, and then we want to hear from you also out there. Tyrone Wise, you're looking like you got the story in you, man. I see your face there. We'd like to hear from you. If you want to throw something in, go ahead and put in the chat. But Rob, Stephanie, Laura, and then who's next? Go ahead and put something in the chat.
Yeah, so Kim just recently had a scenario that goes right along with what Jamie was talking about. My son had wanted to sell his house and buy another one, so he bought one. And then we went back to sell his. So Kim had to go and say, hey, look, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to make it look great. She even made him replace the roof because it had mismatched colors on the roof tiles. Didn't want that image in the buyer's mind. So she had him set it all up and then went there to discuss price. Of course, she was showing all the different prices in the neighborhood, in the area, and none of them were selling. They're all sitting on the market. So my son, because his house looked so nice, he wanted above those pricing. And my wife said, nope, that's not going to happen. You're not going to sell it. Do you want to wait on the market or do you want to sell it quickly? He goes, I need to sell it quickly. I already bought this house. So she took him and his wife to all the other homes in the neighborhood that were listed for sale to show them what he's up against, right? And I said, look, this is what you're up against. If you price it at this level or even above, you're going to sit there like these homes are right now. You need to price it below all these homes if you want to sell it quickly. So he finally said, okay, fine. So she priced it below the other markets, sold the first weekend, got it sold and got it done. And turns out that one of the houses that she showed called her back a few months later and says, hey, my home has still not closed or has an offer. Can you help me sell it? So she's helping that client sell it, and it's even below what my son sold his house for. So getting priced right up front is the absolute best way to get something sold. You're doing your seller a disservice if you don't.
Love it. Love it. Stephanie, Laura, and then we're still looking to see who's next. Don't be shy, guys. This is a chance to
Okay.
share something. I guarantee whatever story you have, it's going to inspire someone. We would love to hear it. Go ahead, Steph.
All right, 26 years in the business, you guys. And listen, there is so much fraud out there, right? We can all fall victims of scams. And this just happened in the last 3 months. This was a referral from another real estate broker, all right? This was a multi-million dollar deal where they needed a specialist in development to help them launch a pretty substantial new construction development that would be roughly about 6 years worth of business. And when it was all said and done, $540 million worth of deals, okay? The seller developer, the wife, was an attorney. You could Google her, legit, complete attorney. The husband developer, not a whole lot of information on him. And so as I was having these meetings and I'm asking the other real estate broker, who is this guy? Who is this guy? I need a little bit more information. I'm not feeling so good about this scenario. But, he's got the plans, he's got the plats, he's got the video, he's got the pictures, he's got everything. So I hop on a plane and I go fly and I meet the guy because I need to shake the man's hand. While I'm there, I snap a photo of him. I upload it. We all have a tool on our phones, you guys. Google. Google has a tool. I take his photo without him knowing it, and I upload it into Google Photo Scan, which is free. Google searches his face, and it comes up that he has been arrested by multiple different countries on multiple different Ponzi schemes, including the United States, Canada, Germany, Portugal, and Hong Kong. Multiple different Ponzi schemes. I mean, unbelievable, right? I immediately call this broker, who's the referring broker, and say, what do you know about this guy? What did you do to vet this? I mean, we hadn't gotten down to marketing. We hadn't gotten very far whatsoever, okay? Because again, my gut dar is usually right. Did you hear me? My gut dar. John Heerhold knows that about me. My gut dar tells me everything. But listen, you guys, when your gut's telling you something, you gotta keep pushing it. But Google scan, taking somebody's picture and scanning it, I'm telling you right now, that saved my ass. Excuse the true words, but it did. Gut dar.
I love that gut dar. That we put that in the chat. We've got different spellings of that, Stephanie, if you'd like to correct our spellings on it. So that's great. Reverse image lookup on Google. Also, every agent on here, if you're a part of NAR, you belong to a thing called Forewarn. If you haven't used that, ladies especially, ears perk up here. You can take the person's cell phone number, you can take their email and things like that, and you can plug it in. We just had this happen to an agent of ours the other day, and this gentleman had multiple sex offenses. So she had her antennas up, and then she found out while he was in the bathroom, he had a folder of hundreds of pictures of her inside the folder. He had stalked her online and all this stuff and everything, and we told her, get the hell out of there right now, and we report him to the MLS so that other agents don't get stuck with this. So forewarn, it's an app, it's free. You can use it as long as you're using it for business. You have to guarantee you're using it for business. You're not allowed to look up like your ex or something like that. But check it out. It tells you everything about them, their criminal record, if they're sex crimes, things like that. Okay, next. Thanks, Stephanie. Great stuff. Laura, you were next, and we're also looking for our next person after Laura. Let's see. Yes, Kim says she uses forewarn. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Laura.
the problem is every time I hear a story, I think of another story that I have.
Well, you've been in the business for a couple of decades, Laura. You started when you were 5 years old, so we know how it works.
Exactly.
Go for it.
1985. And it was hard to figure out which one to tell. And then every time I hear a story, I'm like, so Stephanie was just talking about the scams right now. There's a lot going on with vacant land. I know Kim Manson is on here. She just experienced it. A lot of us are experiencing. I just had 3 of them in a row because I happen to have a number of vacant land properties for sale. They're finding me on some website, homes.com or wherever. And they're saying that they own this land and they want you to sell it and they don't really own it. And apparently there's been a couple people that have actually closed on properties like this. So be really careful. We vetted them as best as we could. I asked for a copy of a driver's license. Somebody wanted to buy something. I asked for proof of funds. They're sending fake bank statements. So yes, there is a lot of fraud out there. So be careful of that. What I'm known for, especially when I'm teaching agents, is I'm the queen of spin. So I can take any situation and spin it around in so many different ways. And I say, that's what you really have to do. You have to get super creative. You have to think about how can you do things differently? How can you make this work? I always told agents when I was teaching them that when the minute you say something is not your job, you're not going to close because your job is to get to a closing. So if you have to do the other agent's job, the attorney's job, whosever job you have to do it so that you can get to a closing. I recently had a transaction with a young man, first time buyer. We were looking for about a year. He spent 140,000. Yeah, we actually have condos still for that price over here. He wasn't going to close right before closing because we found out that the association had less than 10% in reserves. And then he started Googling everything. And, these youngins, they read everything online. And he started reading all of these horrible things that could happen and special assessments and yada, yada. And he wasn't going to close. He cancels the contract. So I tell the listing agent that he's canceling. However, she doesn't get it signed by the seller. She doesn't change it in the MLS. It's about 10 days later, he calls me up. He says, I regret this. I don't want to cancel. I want it back. Can I get it back? We get him back. We get the contract back for him. That's the first time I've ever had that happen where someone cancels and then they want it back. We get it back for him. Okay, now we're about a week later and he's faltering again. He thinks he wants to kill the deal again because he's again reading all this stuff. So he thinks, could he possibly have a special assessment? So here we are 2 days prior to closing. I negotiated a $2,000 closing cost credit from the seller. Now, mind you, backstory is there were 7 offers. We got it. We were one of 7. And he's a union electrician. So when I put something in my cover letter, because no one wants the love letters anymore, but I put a blurb about him in the cover letter that just said he's a first-time home buyer, union electrician. It was an estate sale. The man had passed away. Their father, he was a union electrician. That's how we got it. So if you can try to squeeze stuff in, that's a good tip for you to do there. But at the last minute, we got a $2,000 closing cost credit from the seller. And they were like, well, it feels like extortion, but whatever it takes, queen of spin, we got to do whatever works. And the last thing I want to mention is my goddaughter, my niece, is purchasing a home right now in Wisconsin. I'm in Illinois. So I called the agent to get a referral fee from her. I went and looked at the house actually with her last night outside of Milwaukee. That agent taught me something that I want to share with you guys because I thought this is really a cute little trick. She said that what she does, she was up against 27 offers. They're still in a crazy market over there. The house is like 300,000. It's adorable. One of those little cute houses with the white picket fence on the corner. I mean, like the perfect first time home buyer house. Anyway, she was up against 27 offers and she got it because the buyer added in a pizza clause. So what's the pizza clause? The buyer's agreeing to deliver a pizza to their house every Friday until they close. Because you know how people don't want to cook when they're packing up and all that. And with the pizza clause, she was able to get the house and other clauses too. But I thought that was a cute little trick. But so my biggest takeaway here is think outside the box, figure it out. There's always a way to keep a deal together. That's your job. Your job is to get to a closing. That's what you're hired to do.
They throw some Popeye's chicken in there, I'll buy it for them. That's I'm all in on that. So great stories on that. So look, we're getting close to wrapping up. We have 10 minutes to go. We'd still love to hear your story. If you're out there and you're shy, like, oh my gosh, I don't know. We want you to tell your story. We want to hear it. Somebody will get out of that. So we've got Jamie Parker, we've got Suzanne, we got Kim coming up next. I'm going to give you 60 seconds of mine real quick. A mentor of mine changed my life years ago and told me this. Would you like to make professional athlete type money? Answer is, of course, I'd love to make that money. He said, but you're not performing like a professional athlete. You're not preparing like a professional athlete. See, the reason people don't make professional athlete money and make amateur athlete money is because of their pregame. He said, you've got to have a pregame. Do you know professional athletes get up super early in the morning? They're working out and doing their nutrition before anybody else even gets out of bed. You need to get a morning routine, and turn me on to the thing called the Miracle Morning. The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents was actually a book. You can look it up. The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents will help you become the best version of you. Every person on here, you are the brand. People aren't hiring you for the name on the sign. They're hiring you for you. And the thing about it is, you've got to be in position when life or God or the universe, whatever you believe in, puts that potential opportunity in front of you. The problem is professional athletes spend 90% of their time practicing and only 10% of their time playing, right? They spend all this time prepping and getting ready for when they finally get on the field and have that opportunity. The 3-hour window in that week that they're going to perform, but they've spent all the other time doing it. You have to have a routine to make you the best version of yourself. Professional and personal growth that you work on daily, moving yourself better towards the best version of yourself. So when you do get that split second, that opportunity, you're the best version of yourself. And you get them, which means you got to practice your scripts, your dialogues. Don't practice them on your clients. Practice them with a friend or another agent or an accountability partner, so that when something gets said, you can spit it out immediately when it comes to that. So I love that. That will change your life. I promise you. The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents. Get that book and follow it. It's an action plan, not theory. It's an action plan that you can put into place. All right. So we named off some people that were going to go. Kim, you were going to go. Go ahead, Kim. We've got Viet. We would love to hear from you. And also, I think somebody else put one on there. It was Jamie. So we'll go Kim, we'll go Viet, then we'll go Jamie. Go ahead, Kim. You go first.
Is it Kim Mason or Kim Campbell? I wasn't sure.
I don't know which one. Whoever said. Oh, I think it was Kim Campbell. Go for it, Kim.
Oh, okay. Back to the story. Actually, this story is for those people who are brand new, because it sounds like a lot of expert talking about, expert level. So let me bring you back to when I first started real estate 26 years ago. When whoever is listening to this story know that you get into real estate, you're so scared. I was so scared. I came to this country, couldn't speak a word of English. So contracts and starting real estate as a career was nerve-wracking. But what I did do right is that I know I am directional challenge. I hate contract reading, but I love people. That's all I know. So for those of you who are in here like negotiate, oh my God, that scared you. Don't worry. I was scared too. So my very first story, my very first buyers, I'm like, okay, since listing has so many paperwork, I'm going to work with buyers first. Let me work with some buyers. So I will read the rest of the contract later as I make some money, right? So my focus in real estate was just working with buyers. So I found when I get my real estate career ready, I bought a computer, everything, $6 left to buy to try to find the very first buyer before I fill up the tank of gas, for the next round. Anyway, I went to church and asking for who is today. Do you know anybody looking to buy a house like today? Like I'm talking about today's Sunday. We have like after church, we have from 12 to like 8 o'clock who want to go and see some houses, So anyway, for those of you who don't have anything going on right now, I'm telling you, you go to church, you go find somebody who want to buy right now, not tomorrow, not a month from now. And that's all I did when I first started real estate. So negotiation, all those things are amazing. But right now, go and find somebody who want to buy right now. And guess what? And that's exactly what I did. I found a lady at church. Like, well, I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm like, don't worry, I got you. I literally drove her all the way to meet the loan officer after church, the whole family of 3. And then all I ever did was hook him up with the loan officer. and go and find my house within 3 weeks. And then, long story short on that I didn't tell, was that there was one house that they found that they loved. It was $68,000. And this agent never responded to my call. So I didn't know at the time that the listing was expired. And I didn't know what expire mean. All I want to say, I saw this home and it's on the market. So I went there over and over. And at that time, you have, every time you go to a real estate home, you have to leave a business card. So I was very obedient, brand new. So I put I've been to the house like 25 times, right? I left 25 cards. And one Sunday, the next following Sunday, I went, and I'm like, I couldn't get a hold of this freaking agent. I don't know what to do. But I drove my buyer back there for the 26th time. This time, she's like, I love this how I want it. What do I do? I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to find out. I walked in there. I saw this lady walked out, holding all of these stack up cards. And she looked at me, and I looked at her. I'm like, ma'am, I'm looking, my buyer want to buy this house. And she's like, are you Kim Ha? This is the stack of your car? I'm like, yes, ma'am, it is my car. And she's like, do you want to sell this house? I'm like, oh shit, this is the listing that I don't know anything about. I'm like, yes, I do. Yes, I do, ma'am. And she's like, and I'm asking, would you be available? So I don't know anything. So I'm like, I'm going to set an appointment because I'm like, this is like 3 o'clock on Sunday. And I have no idea what to do with a listing. So I say, is there any way I can meet you back here at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. this evening? It was give me 3 hours, like to go do something about a listing because I had no idea what I was going to do. So I'm like, can you meet me back at 6 o'clock? I got all the paperwork started and we can, get you wrap up and I got the buyer ready to go and we can close it in 3 weeks. And the seller is like, I've been waiting for you. So long story short, I went back to the office looking for my freaking broker. I'm like, okay, how do you do a listing appointment? How do you fill out a listing? I have an appointment. She ready to give me the listing. And all I ever did was just show up and ask, and my broker fill the whole thing out and tell me, highlight me where to sign, explain, this, and this. So my point here is, for those of you who are listening who are new, just go and do something. Like, you don't need to know all the detail. I know I didn't, but go ask somebody who does. And so all I did was I got a whole 6% of the commission on a $68,000 home back in 1998. And that was more money than I ever make in a whole month of my underwriting. I was an underwriter prior to that. So for those of you listening, you don't know what to do, go and find somebody to buy right now, or go and find somebody to list right now, not tomorrow.
I love it, Kim. See the people, tell the story, baby. There it is. So we've got Viet Nguyen. Did I say your name right? If I didn't, please correct me so I get it right the next time. You're up.
That's good.
How do you say the first name? How do you say it?
It's Viet like Vietnam.
Viet Nguyen, right?
Yes.
Go.
So it's perfect. I don't really have a story. Thank you, Kim. It was like perfectly right after, because I'm a 20-year-old university student who recently got my real estate license. So it's more of like a question for everybody that's an expert here. I'm starting out early. I know it's gonna be a part-time, but I'm gonna try my very best because I really want a successful future, and real estate has always been my thing. So more of a question is, like, starting out in my area market, barely any team in EXP that I'm underneath right now, more of like less mentor, more of like an independent contractor. What are some of the tips or some of the things that I could do to become successful?
Beautiful. I love it. So the first thing we're going to focus on is actually, it's a great segue, Viet, for next week's mastermind, lead generation. Here's the thing. Leads take care of everything in real estate. If you have more than enough leads, you're going to be able to cherry pick the business you want to work on, even part-time as a university student. And then you're going to be able to farm out your extra leads to other agents that may be doing it full-time that don't have as much business, and you can get a referral fee off of business that they do from leads that you were going to throw in the garbage. We're going to teach that next week. It's going to be a great one for you to be on, and you're going to love that. In fact, I got somebody who's going to tell their first deal story coming up next, who's a brand new agent, who's also a part-time agent because he's a full-time firefighter. He's a military veteran. And I think it would be a great story for our newer agents to hear his first deal story. And I'm going to have Brian Conrad unmute and take 60 seconds to tell your first deal story, brother.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Happy Veterans Day, man.
Yeah, happy Veterans Day to you all. So, yeah, hold on. Like Jim said, I'm fairly new. I've been in it for about, 8 months now. And couple deals under my belt. But yeah, my first story or my first deal was crazy. Thanks to you and Stacy for allowing me to do the open house, but it was from the open house I was able to get the client to, hold on a second, I'm sorry. Get the client to sign the buyer's agreement and all that good stuff. But yeah, that open house was it was crazy. There was like 30 people that showed up, and it wasn't my first open house I've done, but it was you know, I was fairly new in the game. And like I said, I had like 30 some people, so it was hard to get to everybody, but one of them definitely stuck out and rolled out the red carpet for them and got them to they almost bought that house also, but didn't happen. But the thing is they kind of ghosted me after they didn't get that house. So the thing is I kept just not bugging them, but every couple weeks I wouldn't do it every week, but like every couple weeks I'd send them a text and then shoot them a house that was comparable to that one and said, hey, here's this one that's on the market. You want to go look at it? Again, crickets. And then finally, one of them that I sent them, they're like, yes, we want to look at it. And I'm like, holy cow, where'd you guys come from? So we went and got the deal under contract, and probably my fault that I didn't warn them about because they were first time home buyers. And Jim told me about this afterwards, but the home inspection, I can't remember who did the home inspection. They did a phenomenal job. They, the wording that they use is very, I don't know, what should I say, Jim?
Overly aggressive in describing the defect.
Exactly. I mean, it was crazy. So I didn't warn them. They got that was on vacation. So they got the report prior to me even warning them that, you know, hey, the inspectors say a tiny crack in the foundation is going to make the house fall down. You know, don't look at it that way. It's just, they're just covering their ass basically. But I didn't get to them. So they wanted to back out of the deal just because of all the stuff that came up on the inspection report. And, you know, needless to say, I ended up reeling them back in. We got the deal closed, and that was a whirlwind for my first one.
It's for sure setting proper expectations for agents who are on here who are newer, or even for veteran agents. Setting the expectations up front can save you a lot of hassle on the back end. And that's one thing, is prep them on those home inspections. Like, hey, they're going to cover their butts, CYA, right? Cover their butt. And it's going to come back very aggressive in the wording. Let's talk about it before you allow emotions to come in and things like that. So I love it. So I want to thank everybody for jumping on today. If you liked this format, let people know that invited you on here. We can do this again for people to tell stories and things like that, because I think I got a bunch out of it today. Hopefully you guys did too. And here's the thing, next week, we're going to talk about the number one thing that agents of all areas of expertise and however long you've been in need to focus on, and that is leads. He or she with the most leads wins the game. That's the way it is. And we're going to have an awesome panel who's going to talk about different forms of lead generation. I promise you, you'll get something out of it if you show up. You're going to be able to ask questions to the panelists, but you're going to get something out of it by learning how to generate more leads. And it's great because these are going to be agents that aren't even in your marketplace and are probably doing something you haven't seen. Because here's the thing about real estate. It's kind of an incestuous business where everybody just copies each other from within the same marketplace. If you hear from stuff outside of where you're at, I think you're going to learn something great. And that's going to be next Monday, noon Eastern Standard Time. We'll put out the graphic, but bring a friend. Bring a friend. Come on here. The bigger this gets, the more different markets we're in, the more we can all learn from each other, where we can grow globally. We can grow our businesses, grow our networks, grow our lives, so we can sell more homes, make more money, have more free time, so we can ultimately have more fun. Thanks for jumping on, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording now as we say goodbye to everyone.